everyone. Welcome back to the Zest. Teju here. I'm so excited for today's episode. We have a powerhouse guest. I am joined by Liz Getman, who is an influential, incredible yoga instructor, meditation leader. She teaches just such inspiring workshops, and she's also a digital content creator. So Liz is here to share her expertise, talk about her journey, everything that she's done. She talks a lot and writes a lot about self-love and acceptance. So I'm thrilled to dive in. Welcome to the show, Liz. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you, Teju. It's an honor to be here. Appreciate it.
Awesome. So I know we were talking just before we dived in, like how excited I am about our conversation. You're up to such incredible things, teaching yoga, leading meditation. I followed a lot of your work. I would love to know, how did you even get into the space? How did you get into yoga? How did you get into meditation?
Yeah, and so I think it actually goes back to when I was a child. My dad is a spiritual teacher. And it's funny because we often say we follow in our parents' footsteps somehow, right? And so
Yeah.
I became a spiritual teacher too. And my mom works in nonprofits and I also work in nonprofits. So I kind of bridge both worlds. But I think I was inspired by that from a young age. And I had always been interested in yoga and meditation ever since college. I had the opportunity during my master's program to study abroad in Guatemala. And there I studied more about plant medicine and meditation and experimenting with different levels of consciousness and a lot of woo-woo stuff.
Cool. Love it.
Yeah. And so when I came back from doing my research and learning there, I started leading meditations, and that was back in about 2014, 2015. After that, I decided to pursue my yoga teacher training. So I went back to Central America, did my yoga teacher training, and then have been teaching ever since.
That's incredible. What was that experience in Guatemala like? And if you feel
Yeah.
comfortable, share some of the multiple levels of consciousness, some of those
Sure.
things that you try, if you feel comfortable sharing that with our
Sure.
audience, because it's, for me, that stuff is endlessly fascinating. So
Yeah, and it's also like hard to describe, right?
Right, right,
But it's
right.
fascinating for me too. Yeah, so I started experimenting with plant medicines, and I my research actually was in gender and development. So
Mm.
I was interviewing different women who unfortunately had been abused at the hands of their partners in
Oh,
Guatemala, Mayan
wow.
women. Yeah, and so it was interesting because I was studying meditation and actually using a plant medicine called cacao, which is the raw form of
Right,
chocolate, right,
right.
which is a traditional Mayan plant medicine. And so cacao really works with the heart and opening up your heart and your mind too, so different levels of consciousness, but it really helps us dive deeper into the heart space. And so
Mm.
it was an interesting synchronistic experience because I was interviewing these women about really heavy topics, which, was a very humbling experience. But at the same time, I was sort of diving deeper into cacao and what it could do to open my heart and open their hearts for this shared experience. So, I mean, it'll be tough to describe any sort of experimentation with
Right,
different levels of
right,
consciousness, right?
right.
But that was definitely something that stood out for me and something that I wanted to share in the world in a way that was honoring the culture, that was not appropriative,
Right.
and in a way that could really serve the world. So I've been trying to do that ever since, and
Very cool.
cacao now serves as sort of a personal practice of mine. I don't really share it with anyone anymore, but I do still teach yoga and meditation in the way that I can in this strange Zoom world.
I know. How has that been with COVID and adjusting to this, Zoom world and everything being virtual? How has that shifted the way that you practice, the way that you teach, and how you engage with, some of your students?
Yeah, so actually, I took a break from teaching regularly. I had pre-COVID, I was living in Florida, where I had lived for 8 years, and I was teaching 14, 15 classes a week, and which was a
Wow.
lot. And I was pretty
Whoa.
emotionally and spiritually exhausted. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I can imagine.
Uh, yeah, so I needed a break anyway. I ended up moving. I had some pretty big life changes, life transitions, and so I moved to North Carolina, sort of at the beginning of COVID, and
Wow, okay.
yeah. So I mean, I was forced to take a break from teaching anyway.
Right.
I did teach some classes on Zoom, and I still have here and there, and on Facebook Live, which is a very interesting experience. You don't really
Right.
know what anyone else is
Yeah.
doing or if
Yeah.
anyone's still there, but you're just going with it
You're like, are
and
you with me,
trusting.
guys? Are you with me? Like, I
Drop
know.
a thumbs up.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
exactly.
Yeah, it's challenging. Zoom is definitely better, but it's been good for me to take a break. But I am slowly easing back into teaching. I've been
Right.
doing more meditations and leading meditations online, and that's really where I feel most at home, guiding meditation and guiding more of a yin-based restorative yoga practice. So
Mm.
slowly easing back in, but COVID has offered me the opportunity to take a break and to pause and to explore new avenues.
And I think that that's something that we're all unpacking and discovering. And, I call it the blessing and the curse, myself too. COVID has required me to slow down a ton and reflect and, how am I living and like really living on purpose, living in a way of self-love and vulnerability, saying like, hey, these things are no longer serving me, locations like moving and all the other good stuff. It's challenging though. It's challenging. And I feel like you have to come from a place of vulnerability, which is something I love that you talk about so much. You wrote this just such beautiful article for Elephant Journal about
Mm.
your struggles in the past and, really being vulnerable. What has that journey been like for you? How have you been able to get to a place where you're able to peel back the layers, be vulnerable, be authentic?
Mm.
And what were some of those hardest, darkest periods,
Yeah,
that led you
yeah.
to kind of shifting into, the person that you are today?
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks for reading my work and sharing that. Yeah, I talk a lot about my past trauma, and I used to be somebody who would kind of suffocate everything, suppress
Mm.
everything, and actually, when I started studying meditation, yoga, and plant medicine, I really came face to face with my inner junk, so to
Yeah.
speak,
Yeah.
and that's really one of the gifts of the practice. Although it can really get ugly before it gets better, right? It can get worse before it gets better. That's often the case if you're ready to dive in and explore. And so I had trauma as a child, and as a result of that, I developed a nearly fatal eating disorder in college. And
Mm.
so I almost died of anorexia. I almost committed suicide a few times, and
Wow.
have dealt with depression and anxiety off and on throughout my life. Yeah, and I'm getting support for it now, and COVID is certainly a challenging time for those of us
Right.
who struggle with these issues. But I am at a place where I feel strong and I feel healthy, and I've also learned that sharing my story helps other people share theirs.
Right.
And the more I can show up authentically, it inspires other people to show up authentically. And so that piece about vulnerability for Elephant Journal that I wrote.
Mm.
It was shared very widely, and at first I was surprised, but then I realized again, the more I share, the more people are comfortable in sharing their stories, and so that inspires me to keep going. And that really revolved around my eating disorder, and just having not being connected to my body and not being connected
Mm.
to my emotions. And so I had this sort of silly practice that I used to do during my recovery, where I would stand in front of the mirror, naked, and
Right.
and
Right.
repeat to myself, "I love you, I love you, I love you." And at first, it felt,
Mm.
like BS, like it didn't feel
Right.
like I really meant it. And there's that idea of like fake it till you make it. But more and more, I started to hear that affirmation, and I don't know if I faked it till I made it, or something just clicked, or it was all the practices I was doing that combined to create a space in which I could heal, in which I could share my story and really start to accept myself and even love myself.
Thank you for sharing that. Just so humbled by your story. And, I
Thank
think
you.
that what I loved about your article is just, we live in a world where everyone puts their perfect selfie on Instagram and,
Yeah.
they're like crushing it and in beast mode and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And, behind everyone, there's
Hmm.
insecurities or trauma or anxiety, depression. Like we all have things, across a multitude of spectrums. And, I think that the more and more people can be vulnerable and authentic and share, it really helps to know that you're not alone.
Hmm. Hmm.
Whatever it is that you're challenged by. So,
Yeah.
I love the I love you practice too. I think that yeah, that's so powerful. And
Yeah. I
I,
think I remember my dog would just kind of like stare up at me like with his head cocked, like, what the
he's like,
hell are you
what is
doing?
going on?
Yeah, yeah. What are you doing? But I do think like affirmations, I know you use them in your
Yes,
business
totally.
too. Affirmations are super important. And
Yeah.
sometimes it clicks, and sometimes we receive that message from a
Yeah.
different messenger or some unexpected place. So maybe even a product like you're
Yeah.
selling,
Yeah.
or maybe from ourselves or from a social media post. And so I appreciate when we can be real and authentic, and show that it's not always rainbows and butterflies.
Right.
However, it is important to share the highs, right? I mean, we
Yeah,
can share
for
the
sure.
lows, but it is good to share the highs, just as long as we're also being authentic about it, that it's
Totally.
that it's both and not either or, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Life is a continuous and, I like to say all the time.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. That's great. I might borrow it.
Okay. That's always, it's always an and,
Yes, always an and. I
There's
like that.
always an
Yeah.
and. Now,
Yeah.
what I love is your approach to meditation.
Mm,
Walk us through some of the disciplines, the practice,
sure.
also a lot of our viewers are beginners, exploring meditation. So
Mm-hmm.
would love some ideas on how they could even get started. Sometimes it seems
Sure.
daunting to sit
Mm-hmm.
down and meditate. How do you get started?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing to consider is that meditation is hard. So when you
Yeah.
look actually at the limbs of yoga, meditation is pretty high up. It's a higher branch than, say, asana, the movement part of yoga that we see in most yoga studios, right? So meditation is hard. It's hard to just sit with your thoughts, right? And so first of all, try not to have expectations of what's going to happen. You might hate it at first, like, and that's totally okay.
I know
Yeah.
I did. I'm gonna be
Sure.
honest. I know
Yeah, yeah.
I did.
It's challenging. It's challenging. I mean, it definitely is a habit to cultivate. I mean, I think most people say, I'm gonna start meditating and my life's gonna get better.
Right.
Sometimes you start meditating and things start to feel worse because again, you're looking at what's inside. Like you're really looking at your thought processes, your emotional patterns, and some of that might be kind of ugly, right? But the trick is to stick with it as long as you feel safe and comfortable. If something comes up and you've experienced trauma in your life, then maybe meditation isn't the best practice for you, right? Maybe mindfulness or mindful movement rather is better than a seated meditation where you're observing your thoughts and your emotional patterns. So that's one thing to consider for people who've gone through deep trauma, that it might actually be the best practice. But maybe a meditative movement might be better. If you are considering a seated meditative practice, the first thing you want to do is make sure you're comfortable. And so if sitting on the floor like hurts your hips, hurts your back,
Right.
use as many pillows as you need to sit as
Mm.
high as you need, or sit in a chair if that's more accessible for you. If you can't sit on the floor, or lie down if that's more accessible for you. There's not a perfect seated meditative practice, regardless of what we see on in the internet and on social media,
I'm so
right?
glad you said that. Actually, I remember
Yeah.
my first time meditating. I went to a studio in San Diego and I was sitting and trying to be my best, most perfect. Perfectionism is a thing for me. And I was like, I got to get this right. And
Right.
my back was hurt. All I could think about was how much my back hurt.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So I'm so
And so
glad you
that's all
said
you're
that.
going to be thinking
Right,
about, right?
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's like a certain level of ego we have to
Yeah.
dismantle first. Like, yeah, sit as high as you need. So you want your hips to be in line with your knees or hips higher than your knees. Again, if that's available and accessible for your body, but you can lie down. I mean, that's okay. And maybe try a guided practice first. Yeah, I mean, it's good to stack your bones. So like shoulders over hips, but also keep relaxed. So I think there's a balance between relaxing your body and sitting up straight. So I call myself a recovering type A, so I understand the perfectionism piece. Yeah, I'm in recovery for that as well. Yeah, so so I give myself permission first to be a little messy, and my permission to be a little um, clunky. And, it's okay to not be quote unquote perfect, especially when you're meditating. It doesn't even exist, right? So we're trying to dismantle that idea first. But, if you feel safe and comfortable, you can close your eyes and then start to just focus in on your breath. If that feels challenging, you can do a sensory exercise that I often guide people through. And this is actually very good for people who've gone through trauma. So whether your eyes are open or closed, you can go through your senses. This is good for people with anxiety too. So what do you hear? What's the furthest sound away from you? So maybe listen for something outside of your home. What's the closest sound near you? Maybe the sound of your dog in the next room. What's the taste on your tongue? Maybe that last sip of tea or coffee. What's the smell in the air? Maybe the coffee on. I'm thinking a lot about coffee these days
Yeah.
because I work from home. So that's what's on my mind right now. Um, and then what do you touch? So, are you seated on the floor, or do you feel your hand on your leg? Do you feel the air on your skin? So, a sensory exercise is a nice way to begin your meditation practice and your mindfulness practice. And, anxiety is really high in our world right now. And so, this sensory practice you can do anytime. So, you can do it with eyes open or closed. You can do it in the car if you are like me and you suffer a little bit from road rage. You can do it when you're watching the news, or so that's a really good way to start. And then from there, maybe focusing on how your breath moves through your body and just start there. Watch your thoughts come and go. Don't believe everything you think, right? Every thought that passes is not true. Yeah. And just see what comes up and try to do it as non-judgmentally as possible.
Right. Now, how do you, and I know one of the things when I first started meditating, so, it's those thoughts, as you were saying, oh, I need
Mm-hmm.
to do this, I
Mm-hmm.
forgot to do this, I owe this person
Mm-hmm.
this, I need to, and it's so easy to get in that spiral. How
Yep.
do you surrender those thoughts? Is
Mm.
there I've heard some people say, they think, so they kind of thank themselves for the thought and they release it. Is there a
Yeah.
technique that you prefer and use to help you, let those things go?
Hmm. Yeah, so I, especially when I teach or if I'm in seated meditation, I'm talking to myself or thinking to myself, I'll often um, just come back as many times as you need. So your mind is going to wander. That's what the mind is designed to do, right? So let's just get that clear first. This is what my mind is designed to do. So, okay, I'm starting to think about what I have to do in the next hour. Oh, let me come back to my breath, or let me come back to notice how my seat feels on the floor.
Right.
Something that I learned from another teacher is to actually think in my head that I'm thinking. So this is weird, but so if I'm seated in meditation and I'm breathing, and then my thoughts go to what I'm going to make for dinner, I'll say to myself in my head, "You're thinking again," and then that brings me back to this
Ooh,
moment.
interesting.
But sometimes people will do that in like a more of a harsh way, like, "Oh, you're thinking again, damn it!" Like like let me come back to the present moment. But if you can do it in a softer voice in your mind of like, oh, Liz, you're thinking again. That's okay. Come back to your breath. Another trick that another teacher taught me is that you can just say to yourself, I am inhaling, I am exhaling. I am
Mm.
inhaling, I am exhaling. So, oh, what am I going to make for dinner? Oh, Liz, you're thinking again. I am inhaling, I am exhaling. And, so it seems simple. It might even seem a little bit silly, but those are practices that really help me.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love it. I'm inhaling. I am I'm going to use that. I still
do it.
struggle. I meditate every day, but I still struggle, after it's
Yeah, for
been
sure.
5 years of.
Me too. I mean, me too. Me too. And I think like if we're not struggling, we're maybe we're dead, right? I mean, but like really, like
Yeah. No.
it's going to be a struggle. We're here living this human experience, right? And so it's going to be hard and it's going to be beautiful, but things are going to continue to come up and we just learn from them and we grow from them. So
Right.
I think accepting that it's going to be kind of hard and a little uncomfortable and ugly first, and maybe always, is really the first step.
Absolutely. And being willing to take that first step, I think,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. Saying I'm going to do this,
I'm going to do
and
it.
it's going to maybe be ugly. There, that
Yes,
might be
it's
the
gonna be
steps.
ugly. It's going to be messy.
And I'm here for it.
I'm
Yeah.
here for it. We're going to figure this one out.
Yeah. Exactly.
We're going to figure
Exactly.
this out.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that one of the things that I get asked about too, so, yoga. So you teach and have been a teacher for a long
Hmm.
time. And, I think that it's going to be messy and it's going to be something that, I am going to have to work towards. So, I'm talking about my own
Yeah.
personal experience.
Yeah.
I was a 3-season athlete, so I, had really tight
Hmm.
muscles. So going into yoga was a struggle.
Sure.
And I get asked all the time, now I do practice regularly, but I get asked all the time is, how do I get started, practicing yoga? What are
Mm-hmm.
some simple moves? What should I look for? Um, walk us through that. How could someone get
Sure.
started, even if it's just a few minutes a day doing some yoga?
Yeah, so I think I mean there's certainly poses you can do on your own, but I find especially now that we're with these stay-at-home orders, that it's easier to find a teacher online.
Yeah.
So I always recommend on YouTube Yoga with Adrienne, and I'm pretty sure you
Mm,
spell her name Adrienne, Yoga with Adrienne. I recommended it to my mom when she was starting yoga, and now she practices regularly to other students, to other friends. And there's actually like a 30-day series you can do. And she starts from the very beginning of it. It's a great course and it's a great channel. So I recommend that if you're starting at home.
okay, we'll have the link up to that in the show notes after.
Yeah, definitely put it in the show notes. She's not a sponsor of mine. She doesn't pay me. I just like to share the love. She's doing good work. Yeah, but now that we're all at home anyway, there's a lot of studios that are offering Zoom classes and things like that. Even like I said, Facebook Lives and free classes. I guess I guess the important thing is that you're moving in a way that feels good for your body, right? There's no perfection in yoga. Again, get rid of the idea of yoga porn, as we call it, like on Instagram, like half naked people doing
Yes,
asana, doing poses. Like,
yes.
let's just clear that out of here. Yeah.
I love that you said
Um,
that.
yeah, no, I'm a big proponent of accessible yoga. And so accessible yoga it means it's yoga and movement for all bodies. So for every body and every body, right? Which is something I like to say that I hope my classes instill that sense of empowerment for people. So yoga should offer a sense of agency for you. So you're moving and you're choosing to move in a way that feels good for you. That's first and foremost. If someone's encouraging you to do something that doesn't feel good, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. We already have enough pain and suffering in the
Right.
world. Like, why are we going to bring it into yoga? Right.
Exactly. Exactly. I
Yeah.
love that you
And
said that.
so, yeah, so starting with gentle movement and however feels good for you. So maybe you learn a sun salutation online. That's great. But maybe your sun salutation looks different than mine does. Maybe mine is on the knees, or you can even do sun salutations on your back, right? If that's what's accessible for you. And maybe yours, Teju, is standing up, right? And so you really want to find what works best for your body, and start gentle. I think we look at like hot yoga and sweaty yoga, and I love hot yoga, I do, but starting with that may or may not be the best course of action for somebody, especially if you're starting out and you've never tried yoga before.
Right, right. My first class ever was a Bikram class. I took my
Yeah,
sister and
mine too. Actually, mine too. Yeah.
the two of us
Yeah.
were up in this class like it was she's like, I will never do anything you ask me to do ever again. Like this is so hard.
I know yeah, I mean, I often introduce practices to people and I used to bring them to my home studio where I taught in Florida. And they'd be like, I don't want to do a vinyasa style class. I don't want to do a flow style class. And, well, try yin or restorative. But if you introduce somebody first to hot yoga or vinyasa, they might be like, I'm done. I never want to come back.
Yeah.
So I think just knowing that there's options, and that actually meditation is a form of yoga. So if meditating is your form of yoga, that's beautiful. You don't have to even move your body.
Right. Now, what are some other forms? We talked about, seated meditation. You started to allude
Mm-hmm.
to other forms of meditation. What are some
Sure.
other meditation forms that people can explore as they're
Hmm.
maybe, starting to incorporate seated meditation to their daily lives?
My favorite form of meditation, besides simply mindfulness meditation, watching my thoughts and watching the breath, that's can also be a form of Zen
Mm.
meditation. Is what's called metta. That's METTA, or loving kindness meditation. And I find this to be really helpful when I'm feeling angry or frustrated or disconnected from the world, as many of us are right now.
Yeah.
And so a metta meditation is repeating mantras, repeating affirmations to yourself as you're seated or lying down, or again, even if you're in the car, hopefully with eyes open if you're
Right.
driving a car.
Right.
um, and so you first send loving kindness to yourself. And so you're repeating these affirmations. And it goes like this: May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be free. And so you can repeat that as many times as you need. And then you start to think about people who are close to you, people you love. So your friends, your family. And you repeat to yourself, may they be happy. May they be peaceful. May they be free. You start to expand your circle, maybe to your coworkers, your neighbors. maybe to people you struggle to love or even like. That's one that I like to do. So if I'm struggling to have compassion or to connect with someone, I repeat to myself, may they be happy, may they be peaceful, may they be free.
Right.
From there, you can expand to the whole world and repeat to yourself, may all beings be happy, may all beings be peaceful, may all beings be free. So, mantra meditation is actually some of the easiest meditation. You can use that one. My other favorite meditation is to simply repeat, I am. So, there's no qualifiers, there's no descriptions. I'm simply seated as I am. So, I inhale on I exhale on am, and I repeat it as many times as I need as I'm breathing. Yeah.
So you inhale on I. So I
Exhale, am.
am.
Yeah. You can also use the Sanskrit form of that, which is so hum. So hum means I am. And again, you're not describing yourself as anything. I'm not saying I'm beautiful, I'm strong, which are also great affirmations, but I'm just simply resting in this human body, in this spirit body. I am so hum.
I
Yeah.
am so hum. I love that. That is beautiful, amazing. I think
Yeah.
that's, something, especially given everything that we're doing, just having, even just the scripts, having the mantra,
Mm-hmm.
just, catch
Yeah.
yourself and
Yep.
realign yourself. I think that's so beautiful. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it.
So I was just going to say, when your mind wanders, you can come back to your breath, you can come back to your senses, or you can come back to whatever mantra or affirmation you've chosen for yourself. So use as many tools as you can, keeping it as simple as you can. But don't expect to sit down and levitate right away, right? Keep using the tools and keep experimenting with what tools work best for you.
Right. And I think it's experimentation. It's, I think a lot of times, especially in the wellness space, there's
Mm-hmm.
a prescriptive. These are the things that are hot right now. And everyone
Mm-hmm.
tries to do them. And it's like, wait, this is not working for me. I don't understand.
Yep.
And it's saying, we're all different and different things will
Mm-hmm.
resonate with you just based on your own experiences, where you are in your journey and having enough tools to be able to pull from the toolbox and figure out
Yeah.
what's resonating with you at the time. So
Yeah.
I think that's
And just knowing that what resonates with you one day might not resonate the next day,
totally
and what resonates for you might not resonate for me. And, I think we talk a lot about in yoga oneness and this idea of unity, and that is the goal, right? Liberation for all beings, for all people. But there's different paths to get there. And so just acknowledging that one path might not be the path for you, and that's okay. Give yourself permission to try something else.
love it, love it. Now with all of the tools, I feel like we live in such abundance in terms of uh, development in the wellness space, and there's
Hmm.
so many new things as I was talking about. What is your approach to healthy living? Like, what are the things, maybe
Hmm.
5 things that you can't live without? Maybe tools, practices, products, or whatever it may be that you really love and helps you on your journey.
I don't know if I can think of five, but I'll let me try. So meditation for sure. And when I don't meditate and when I don't move my body, whether that's a yoga asana class, whether that's like a fitness class or going running or even on a walk or a hike, I notice it right away, right? I don't just feel it in my body, but I notice it first and foremost in my mind. I'm crankier, I have a shorter fuse, I'm not as compassionate, I have trouble connecting to people. So the practices we've been talking about, those are first and foremost. Music for me and dance too are high up there for
Oh
me as
God.
well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, nature. So being out in nature, not necessarily a thing, but I would count that as my list of on my list of healthy tools or habits. I also love to cook, and this is something I've recently discovered, and a benefit of quarantine is that I really love to cook. So I've been vegan-ish for about 13 to 14 years, and I'm also recently gluten-free, finding out I have a gluten intolerance this past summer. So I've had to get creative in the way that I cook. And so cooking and experimenting with new recipes is really important to me, and that's also been helpful for me to recover from my eating disorder as well, to really develop a deeper relationship to food.
Right.
So start like preparing the food, eating the food, and even cleaning up after the food. And some people don't necessarily like dishes, but that for me is like
Right.
part of the whole cycle. Yeah, that I enjoy doing. As far as products, I mean, I do like most yoga teachers these days. I love essential oils.
Yeah.
So like lavender oil at night is helpful for me to sleep.
Mm.
my dog Waldo, who is actually here behind me. He's always on my
Oh,
podcast silently. Yeah.
I love
He's not a
it.
product or a tool, but Waldo's my emotional support animal for sure. Came
Oh,
into my life at a tough time and has been with me ever since. So
what kind of
yeah,
dog
but I oh
is
yeah, let me see if I can actually show
oh,
him. So Waldo is a Wheaton oh, you got a little
oh,
he just happened to
cute.
be right there.
Oh my gosh, he is just look, he's so zen. He's so
He's
relaxed. Waldo,
he
I
is.
am like, I want to be you.
Yeah,
He's
so Waldo and I are kindred spirits. We both suffer from anxiety, but also I think like can hit our meditative position sometimes quickly
right.
if we have again all the tools available. So yeah, Waldo's definitely my kindred spirit and yeah, my support. And he's here. I don't know if I really have a lot of like products necessarily, but those are the tools. But I think like first and foremost for me, as far as like healthy living is um, if I have good health, meaning I'm not sick, I don't have broken bones. I broke a bone last year, and that was a nightmare as a yoga teacher. Um,
Oh no.
and yeah, and my mental health is in good shape. My emotional health is in good shape, and so is that of my family members and my loved ones. Like I think for me, that's the most important thing to a healthy, happy life. And trying to simplify. I'm always trying to simplify. I think that helps too. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of radical editing. I say it's like, okay,
Oh, that's good too.
let's edit. Is this serving me?
Uh-huh.
If it's not, then it's got to go because
It's
those
gotta go.
your life are those moments. You don't realize the little things that are draining your energy.
And I'm actually so one of the things I do as a content creator is I edit different like websites and press releases and all that. But so I think I'm going to say that if you hire me, just know I'm a radical editor. So no superfluous
No,
words.
exactly. It's gonna get
Yeah,
chopped.
gonna get chopped. Yeah, exactly.
Now, you do a lot of philanthropic work too. So walk us through
Mm,
Yoga Loka and what you're doing
sure.
there and some of the other cool projects. You're up to so many cool things. So what are some of the other things that you're working on?
So again, I think my life's goal is to have a simpler life, but I've also come to terms with the fact that I don't think I'll ever have a simple
Yeah.
life because I like to do a lot of things, and that's just
Same.
who I am. But yeah,
Same.
yeah. So my I think my biggest goal as a yoga teacher, but as a human being, is to create equity and wellness, and that's really important to me that we amplify marginalized voices, uplift communities that have been oppressed, and this is key in wellness too, and in yoga, right? I mean, we see the whitewashing of wellness and of yoga especially, and so. Acknowledging that I am, a thin, able-bodied white woman, I want to use that privilege to create more equity in wellness so that other people have the opportunity to use these tools for their liberation, for their freedom, whatever that means in their body, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically. And so Yoga Loka was born actually through one of my best friends and collaborators. She had an idea to bring yoga to people who were currently homeless. And so she's often the vision person and I'm the doer. Sometimes I have big visions too, but I'm kind of like I say I'm a GSD, I get shit done. So,
Yeah, love
so
it.
she had a vision, and I get shit done. And so we birthed this program together in Gainesville, Florida, and it actually spread to different states, to different countries. And basically, we started teaching yoga and mindful movement and some meditation as was appropriate for people's trauma to homeless populations. From there, we took yoga into jails, and I actually taught in a jail in Florida for a while, and it was my favorite place to teach, hands down. Yeah, we taught to women who were survivors of domestic violence and their children,
Right.
people with mental disease. So a lot of different populations, and all free, right? And community-based classes as well in spaces that maybe aren't as intimidating as a yoga studio, right? So you don't have to wear your tight leggings to
Right.
come to Yoga Loka classes. You can show up as you are. And I always like to say for what any class I'm teaching, come as you are, pay what you can, and maybe your payment is an energetic exchange, right? Maybe it's your presence. And so that's really the goal behind Yoga Loka. Of course, things have transformed with COVID. And when I moved, I sort of stepped away a little bit. But I know we're going to talk about this briefly, but I actually am launching a new podcast. So I was the host of another podcast, and I'm launching a new podcast called Stretched with an online wellness company called Core to Core. And really, the goal is to create equity and wellness, to uplift marginalized voices, but to continue kind of this work that was born out of Yoga Loka to help educate people and empower people.
I love that. I love that. What was the experience like teaching at a jail? Like breakthrough,
Yeah,
any conversations that you had that you could share? That must be so fascinating.
sure. I think the most intimidating part was really like not even the people who are in the jail, not I don't like to use the word inmates, but it
Right.
wasn't even the inmates. It was like the police and like the process of getting in the jail. That was the most intimidating part. The women who I taught, what I loved about teaching in a jail and in a homeless shelter is that it's just raw, it's real. What you see is what you get,
Right.
right? I mean,
Right.
you're not wearing again your fancy Lululemon yoga clothes,
Right.
right? I mean,
Right.
you're either in a prison uniform or you're if you're homeless, you're wearing maybe jeans and a sweatshirt or whatever you have on your body is what you have as a person. And so we just put all of that aside, all of that ego around what we look like. Most of it gets pushed to the side when you're in those areas, or a lot of it. And so I think people have to overcome that first. Like you and I were speaking earlier, it was really hard for us to like sit up perfectly in meditation to start,
Right.
right? That doesn't necessarily happen when you're teaching in a jail.
Mm,
People are just trying to survive. People are just trying to get through the day or in a homeless shelter. And so it's a very authentic experience. It can be difficult. It can, as far as connecting to the women who were there, it was for me at first. But again, the movement, I think offering a lot of room for people to move as they feel comfortable instead of instructing them, like place your foot here, do this, do that, which they're hearing all day in a jail or a prison already,
right.
right? So we're not there to enforce this movement practice. We're there to offer space for them to heal in whatever capacity they can. One piece that was challenging, but also a great growth opportunity, is putting aside your judgments about what these people did in their past to end up there. And yeah, and so I think that's one of the biggest lessons for me as a yoga practitioner and teacher is to try not to judge who's coming into your space, right? Everyone's welcome, and we're all after the same goal. We may have very different ways of getting
Right.
there, but hopefully this practice can help move us forward so that we can become better human beings and
Right.
spiritual beings.
Right. Right. I love that. Talk about surrendering, just being in the moment with people,
Yeah,
and sharing that.
yeah,
I love what you said about sharing space. Uh,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. That's really what it is. Yeah.
I love that.
Yep.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're such an incredible teacher. I know that we were talking earlier about some things that you wanted to show our audience and teach our audience
Sure,
and lead
sure.
us through. So would be honored if I'll be your guinea pig if you lead us through a little bit of a demonstration.
Sure. Sure. I was thinking we could do some equal parts breath, which is a nice way to start a meditative practice and a mindfulness practice. So, whoever's out there, and Teju, if you want to find a comfortable seated position, lying down position, feel free. If it feels safe and comfortable for you, you can close your eyes, but you can also keep a soft gaze and focused on one point with your eyelids at half mast if that's more comfortable today. Let's start with a couple cleansing breaths. I invite you to inhale through your nose. Part your lips, exhale through your mouth. And take that two more times. Inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth. This time, I invite you to inhale through your nose. Pause at the top if that's comfortable. Sip in a little more air. And then part your lips, exhale, sigh out of your mouth. Let it go. And just stay in that more relaxed position with your jaw. Allow your top and bottom teeth to separate. Let your tongue fall away from the roof of your mouth. Feel your eyebrows fall apart. Feel your shoulders soften away from your ears. Just take a moment to notice your seat and how you're connected to the earth, to your chair, to the floor. Feel your spine grow tall. Maybe lift the crown of your head a little higher. Let your hands rest comfortably. I welcome you as you are and invite you to welcome yourself as you are. There's no right way to be or breathe. As you are. No such thing as perfection here. Take another cleansing breath. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Then through your nose, inhale for a count of 1, 2, 3. Pause. Exhale 3, 2, 1. Pause. Inhale 1, 2, 3. Pause. Exhale 3, 2, 1. Pause. One more time. Inhale 1, 2, 3. Pause. Exhale 3, 2, 1. Pause. Maybe lift to the corners of your mouth, lift the corners of your eyelids. Notice how you're feeling now. And if and when you're ready, you can blink your eyes open and come back.
That was amazing.
I'm glad you enjoyed.
I feel like, just so energized.
Good.
That was awesome. Wow. I realize how much stress and tension you hold in your shoulder. Like I love like the softening your shoulders and it's just amazing. So that's something that people can do during the day at any point.
Anytime.
It's just pause and you have such a soothing and just incredible energy too that it's just
Thank you
so much.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
Well, I know you're so busy and I could talk to you forever. Before you go, where can we find you online? What are the best places to connect with you?
Sure. So I try to keep things simple. You can find me basically under my name. So Liz Getman. So lizgetman.com, at Liz Getman on Instagram and Facebook. I mostly use Instagram and my website for different things. But any writing I have, any interviews I have, I always put on my website. So you can find all those there. I do have guided meditations on the app Insight Timer. It's a free app. And so you can listen to guided meditations there. But you can also connect to them from my website. So.
Perfect. Thank you, Liz. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. It's an honor.
Check out Liz's meditations and all the stuff. You have so much, helpful information on your site. So check it out. An honor spending time with you. Thanks for teaching and thanks for your energy and just, being such a inspirational individual. I just, love all you're doing and you're such a light in the world. So
Same to you. It was an honor to chat with you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.